Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 5th of June 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting in the course of the show. We will begin with, of course, our Prime Minister shehbazsharif's visit to the People's Republic of China. He has arrived in Beijing on the second leg of his tour. We'll be discussing the different aspects of his visit to China, what has happened so far, what should we expect now in Beijing in these meetings that our Prime Minister is going to have with the Chinese leaders, and how important is Pakistan-China relations in the whole geostrategic and geopolitical context. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the World Environment Day. Now, of course, every year this World Environment Day is observed across the world since the year 1973. This year the theme of the day is land restoration, stopping desertification and building drought resilience. We all know that there were some reports as far as Pakistan is concerned that 2025 is a year that Pakistan might face drought in some regions. So, of course, Pakistan being one of the countries that is most affected by climate change, this day becomes even more important, and the resolve to fight against it also becomes equally important. Then we are going to talk about the Hubble Space Telescope that is going to retire very soon. This telescope that we have heard so much about in the last decades, which has revolutionized astronomical discovery since it was launched in the year 1990, will ease into retirement with a scaled back observing schedule. This has been said by NASA yesterday. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about 3 children who have discovered just being on holidays and going on the beach remains of a rare Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, 3 preteen dinosaur aficionados had the answer of a lifetime. They discovered the remains of this rare juvenile mammal in the North Dakota dirt, if to say the least. And in the beginning they were all very excited, so they sent the picture, and it was of course confirmed by the specialists that it was indeed a rare part of a very, very ancient mammal that had lived 67 million years ago, to be precise. This is going to be the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns our Prime Minister shehbazsharif's visit to China. He has just arrived in Beijing some time back on his second leg of the tour. He was in Shenzhen on his first leg of the tour, and a lot of important things happened. We'll be discussing different aspects of that. We've got 2 guests with us to discuss that in the studios. We've got Dr. Usman Chohan. He's a political economist. Usman, thank you very much to have joined us. And online we've been joined by Dr. Hassan Daud, but he's a former project director at China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Dr. Saab, welcome, and as usual, thank you very much to have joined us. Let's begin with Usman. Usman, now that the Prime Minister has arrived in Beijing and he's going to meet with the Chinese President, the Prime Minister, the Chairman of the National People's Congress Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, and he will be attending a Pakistan-China friendship business event, meetings with the CEOs of leading Chinese companies that are working on CPEC projects, and a number of MOUs are also expected to be signed in various fields during this stint. How important is this part of his visit before we go to the first part?
I think that this is a very important leg of the visit. So as you've correctly mentioned, there's multiple legs to this tour, and they are all part of a comprehensive, let's say, rebolstering of already strong ties. The idea is now that in Beijing, he's meeting specific entities of the highest office of the People's Republic, with the idea of reassuring them that Pakistan is as committed as ever to the shared vision that was articulated in a previous tenure a decade ago, and that we are fully committed to making sure that the secondary and tertiary phases of CPEC materialize in the same way that the first phase did back in that time. So we must think of this Beijing leg, the previous one being Shenzhen, this leg being one of state-to-state reassurance of shared interests and shared vision towards realizing a common destiny.
All right, wonderful. Dr. Hassan Daud, but coming to you, the Prime Minister was in Shenzhen on his first leg of the 5-day visit to China. He participated in the China-Pakistan Business Forum. Now, under the CPEC, this forum is going to be an important milestone as far as cooperation is concerned, partnership is concerned between the Chinese and Pakistan companies, and there's a huge number of Pakistan companies that are there, and of course businessmen as well. The Prime Minister said while addressing this forum that the government has taken various measures to protect the lives of every Chinese working across the country ever since the act in Bisham. He said no effort will be spared for the protection of the Chinese nationals in Pakistan. How important is this statement? And we're speaking of the forum, in your point of view, how important will be the role of this forum as well?
Well, thank you very much, Umar. It's always a pleasure to be in your show. I think this visit is extremely important for various reasons. One of it is the size and the quantum of work and projects that they have taken along with the pitch book. I think the commitment of the government is clear. The whole of government approach is clear in this visit. You see. Minister Planning, Minister Foreign Affairs, the Finance Minister, and host of other ministers accompanying the Prime Minister. But beyond that, about 160 other delegation the private business delegation members have gone, and they would actually be looking at and seeking perhaps cooperation in the joint ventures and B2B cooperation. That is one of the important aspects of the second phase of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But let me just explain to you why Shenzhen and how important is Shenzhen for Pakistan. It is naturally the technology hub of the world. It's producing equipment, research and development, patents, everything around technology is there. It's also the headquarters for Huawei, and of course, you understand how important Huawei is in the technology sphere of the globe, and also how much is their contribution in Pakistan. They're one of the active technology companies here in Pakistan. But beyond that, the forum in which prime ministers have given reassurances, it's extremely important that the promises that he makes there, the entire apparatus of the government, all bureaucracy, the business community, make sure that when he comes back, all the promises made, all the commitment made are delivered. And of course, an agenda, a roadmap is made, and people are actually made responsible for ensuring that all these deliverables are ensured. The other reason that Shenzhen is important, Omar, is because Shenzhen was also the base model for development of Gawada. And during that time, when we were working on the Gawada master plan, we visited Shenzhen several times. And this is one town which is originally was a fisherman town, and just 30 years it's become the technology hub of the world. It's doing wonders as far as Chinese economy is concerned. I think for us also it's a great case study and model for which Pakistan can work on. It can develop its blue economy. It can develop its manufacturing hub in and around Gwadar, and perhaps connectivity with central China for Shenzhen, and for Gwadar, and for perhaps Karachi for rest of Pakistan, connecting the western region to eastern region. So there are several good things coming out of this visit, Shenzhen and then Beijing. We'll talk about Beijing later, but in the Shenzhen part, I think this, whatever is discussed at Shenzhen will be transmitted to the entire business community in China, especially on the East Coast and Hong Kong. And that would be extremely vital for Pakistan if good messaging is done and we are well prepared, our pitches are well articulated, and we have a focused approach. Because these investors, everyone from rest of the world comes and speaks to them, asks them for joint ventures. So we have to be better prepared, and we have to really meet our promises.
All right. Usman, coming to you, he was talking of the information technology sector and the telecommunication sector, and he talked about Huawei. Now, when it comes to Huawei, our Prime Minister also met with the chairman of Huawei Corporation. He talked about the latest innovative technologies. He invited Huawei to expand its investment portfolio in Pakistan as well. And there was a framework agreement that was also signed between the two, between the Ministry of Information Technology and Huawei, under which Huawei is going to provide free training to 200,000 Pakistani youth in IT, including artificial intelligence. Also, it will extend its cooperation to establishing safe cities in Pakistan. It's already doing this in one city, in e-governance and in digitalization of economy. How do you see these developments? How important is, for example, e-governance, digitalization of economy for strengthening Pakistan's own economy and also strengthening the relations with China in these spheres?
This is a fantastic way to look at it, because Huawei is probably the best positioned supergiant in this field in the world. As the world now bifurcates into two poles of technological and economic development, particularly in the digital economy, Huawei is a titan on this side of that competition. Huawei has a very international footprint, and it is doing similar things in other countries with very, very significant results. Particularly in Africa, but also in parts of Asia and Latin America. it has received a cold shoulder from the West because the security establishment of the West has been unnecessarily hostile, and therefore Huawei hasn't maximized the full contribution it could. By contrast, in Pakistan, already they are a big player. They are a significant participant in our digital infrastructure in the telecom sector. Now there is far more for them to do, particularly because Huawei itself is now at the cutting edge. There was a time where it was competing towards that edge, but now Huawei has surpassed, and that is part of the reason why there is antagonism against Huawei. So we certainly can see the items that you mentioned develop further. And in fact, there's even more that they can do. And so perhaps we should take a few things at a time and see them to full fruition. And Huawei has a long-term stake in Pakistan. Even as the telecom sector has consolidated in Pakistan, even as changes have happened, they have stuck through thick and thin.
All right.
And so I expect them to do even further positive contributions here in the years to come.
Dr. Hassan Daud, but in the forum, our Prime Minister talks about our country's mineral resources. He says Pakistan has the potential to bolster its exports by bringing to use its gold and copper mines. Is minerals an important avenue of cooperation between China and Pakistan? Is it lucrative enough?
I mean, when you talk of Pakistan, I think one of the sectors that comes to your mind is mining sector. Besides, of course, the tourism and of course manufacturing and consumer-based industries. And mining sector is important for us for two reasons. One is that a lot of raw material is being exported out of Pakistan. So we want industries, joint ventures coming in at the SCGs of under CPEC and more, and perhaps adding value to our products and then exporting and perhaps generating a lot of revenues for Pakistan. This is one. Also is that the technology that we use for mining and also the exploration and of course the overall structure around the mining is quite weak, and I think we need to learn from China, embrace the new technologies, embrace the AI in the mining sector, which China is working on. And I've actually seen a lot of Chinese mining companies using AI and other applications for exploring more than the normal and conventional methods of minings are. So I think the reason with which and for which Prime Minister would speak about mining is perhaps asking Chinese investors to come and help us in adding value, and the other is to get the R&D and new technologies for exploring the true potential of Pakistan, not just in the western part of Pakistan, GB, AJK, the huge potentials, and you've just mentioned too, there are a host of other minerals which are available, including gemstones, which we can export and perhaps capture the market based on the known reserves we have.
All right. Usman, coming to you, Prime Minister also refers to a post on X, and he talks about the China-Pakistan Business Forum. He says he has highlighted bilateral trade and investment potential, especially in key sectors, and he names those sectors: transfer of Chinese technology, industry and partnership in IT, in agriculture, mining, steel, textiles and renewable energy. He also talks about security that will be given to the Chinese nationals, and of course the projects and investments in Pakistan. Are these sectors, IT, agriculture, mining, steel, textiles and renewable energy, important avenues of collaboration? How should this cooperation be streamlined?
This is a very important point you're making about streamlining it. So the sectors that you have named are essentially the bedrock of the economy. Whether you look in terms of labor, whether you look in terms of output, this is our economy, essentially. So these sectors need to be brought to the cutting edge. There has been so much work done in recent years that Pakistan certainly needs to catch up. That initiative, of course, has to be much more on the private sector, but government has an important role to facilitate that, have a regulatory and oversight role, and also to foster or lay the groundwork, and that's what they're doing right now. So on the Chinese side, for example, the interest in agriculture, in renewable energy, in IT is very, very positive. I certainly see scope for partnerships across the board in these sectors. I wouldn't prioritize any one of these just because they are all very, very important, whether from a labor perspective or output perspective. And your question is about streamlining it. So essentially what this contingent going to China is doing is saying that the whole of government is on board, private sector is on board, and the follow-up from this visit will be one where it will be discussed how this has to be actually put into practice. Because signing agreements is one thing, but actually putting them into practice is the deliberation that happens once this delegation, this large contingent, returns.
And that is very important. That will be a very important step in the right direction if Pakistan wants China to continue investing, or other countries also to continue investing. The need is there, the desire by the Chinese is there, but this has to be streamlined in the proper methodology. Dr. Hassan, I'd like to come to you concerning the Nanshan One-Stop Service Center in Shenzhen. Now, the Prime Minister visits that, and I'm referring to that because the Prime Minister talks about finalizing a plan for establishing such a modern system in Pakistan by holding discussions with the center also. And, which brings me to the very important point, what we have discussed before as well, is the facilitating of all the investors that come to Pakistan, the one window operation to facilitate all the businesses or businessmen that come to our country. Do you feel this is a good example to follow?
So before I answer your question, I think I would like to just reiterate one point as far as the mining and some of the other sectors. Their relation to security. Unless you provide good, sustainable securities to all the investors who are coming to Pakistan, and especially in the mining sector, which are actually in remote areas, and the access to those areas, building infrastructure, providing the security enablers, I think that would be very, very important if you want to leverage the endowment that you have. Coming to the question that you asked, I think I've been saying almost for a decade now that we need to understand Chinese model. And when China started developing and inviting investors, even the language and the culture of China was different. But the only enabler that they had was technology and the one window, and a top-down approach where they ensured that any investor coming to their country and in different provinces, which were urbanized or remote, gets the same kind of treatment and a VIP treatment, starting from the point that he lands at the airport and beyond, and the time that he returns. For that, I think the one window understanding, and it's sometimes I also feel that it's about character, and national character and productivity also. Although we are as hospitable as Chinese are, but I think working with the investors, the bureaucracy, the other elements, the chambers themselves do not have the right kind of approach where they can attract the investors, because the size of the investor, the sector they are investing in is extremely important. So therefore, for us, when we talk about our special economic zone and we talk of one window and ease of doing business, I think not just the number and the rhetoric around that, hardcore technology importing from China, making sister special economic zones. So one special economic zone under CPEC has a sister relationship or a big economic zone, say one in Shanghai, the other in Tangshan, the other perhaps close to Beijing, in Tianjin. So if you can do that, they bring the technology that they use to support investors despite the languages and cultural challenges that China has. I think Pakistan can learn from that, import that technology, and we have the IT skills for making those models for us within our own characteristics. But I think the real wholesome approach, not just the technology part, not just few cameras and digitization aspect, the other is the overall character and the approach that you use. So the welcoming approach at the airport, where the first person interacts with them while looking at their passports, the person who gives them NOCs and all the licenses and the one window e-khidmat centers. I think those are very, very important. And that also relates to the e-governance part, where technology can enhance performance, can bring in investment, and that can improve your economy.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Hassan Daud, but former project director, CPEC, to have joined us and to have talked about this second leg, of course, in the first leg in Shenzhen and the second leg that is going to begin in Beijing. Now, Usman, Our Prime Minister writes an article published by Global Times in which he talks about very important points. He talks about how Pakistan-China collaboration will yield greater benefits, will improve the lives of citizens, and he talks about a shared future in this new era. He talks about an upgraded version of the CPEC that we've already alluded to in the past as well. He talks about a growth corridor, a livelihood-enhancing corridor, innovation corridor, a green corridor, open corridor. He talks about Pakistan's full commitment to supporting and securing Chinese personnel, and he talks about the priorities and reform agenda of the government. How do you see Pakistan's roadmap as far as replicating China's successful model of development is concerned in Pakistan? Because this is also what our Prime Minister has vowed in this article.
Fair point. He has written that in the Global Times, and the rhetoric not just of this government but previous governments also has been of replicating China's success. The truth is that no country can replicate China's success. China is a very particular story in human history, modern China, where in the blink of an eye, in our lifetimes, it has gone from one thing to an entirely different thing in the blink of an eye. This cannot be replicated by any society at this scale. It's a very unique thing. But there are important lessons for us to take from it. Now, some of those lessons are at the surface level. You can certainly improve certain things. It goes into administration, it goes into the NOC culture, it goes into competition among elements, positive competition among elements of government. For example, their provinces bid for stuff and they always try to provide the best service, those types of things. Then there's a deeper level of lessons to be drawn. How the people engage with their government. They have the highest trust of any society in their government according to polling, right? That creating that trust among the state and the people. The role of private property and public property in their society is totally different from others because it's based on the Marxist model. The relationship between their state, their education system, their economic system, those things are very, very deep. I don't know if any society is ready to learn at that deep level, but there's certainly a lot of valuable lessons to be drawn from the Chinese example. But it requires a deep study. It requires a deep study from our government. It also requires a deep study from ordinary people, civil society, as well as the private sector. But one good thing in that regard is that there are so many Pakistani students now studying in China. I've heard a number of between 20 and 40,000 studying in China right now. So this generation of Pakistani students who are studying in China will be very important in drawing lessons and seeing them implemented here. There is actually layers of cooperation beyond just state visits that are required, and that's where I think huge progress has been made under the radar. Nobody talks about how these kids studying there are going to bring important lessons, create bonds, networks, work for their companies, bring companies here, and so on. There's amazing stuff for Pakistan and China to do together, which often is not covered, which is very good.
All right, Usman, also, our Minister for Information and Broadcasting says in Shenzhen, the relations between Pakistan and China are entering a new era, which is an important milestone for Pakistan's economy. He says that discussions are taking place for promotion of cooperation in diverse sectors, and of course we all know that China has been a steadfast partner of Pakistan, offering assistance in good and challenging times as well. How important, in your point of view, is this visit in the context of the second phase of CPEC and further development of Pakistan-China strategic and economic relations?
Oh, very, very important, and certainly necessary for us to mention this, because unfortunately over the last 30 years we've seen our previous governments focus on one region at a time almost. There was a time where the focus was on the US, then it was on China, then it was on the Gulf, and now it's a little bit back on China. In fact, we should be embracing the whole world simultaneously. We are one of those countries that would benefit most from having the maximum engagement in an increasingly polarized world. So the fact that you have this level of restarting, or you can say in a sense CPEC, or certainly activating it further, is very necessary, because the first phase of CPEC was simple to do. It was infrastructural. That has already shown its merits. There's excellent infrastructure in Pakistan relative to what there was 20 years ago. But now the second phase requires much more human contact. It also requires a far bigger, larger cognizance of the geopolitical and geoeconomic environment in the world, which is toxic at many levels. So in that context, having our emissaries go there and reassure the other side that we are with them and we also share in their vision, because they are thinking very deeply about how the world is changing. China is instrumental in that. It has looked at Africa, Europe, the Americas. All of that is part of a coherent vision. We say that we are part of that, and we're willing to and ready to help them in as much as they are also helping us. There's mutuality and harmony in this.
And I think that's very important, this mutuality and understanding and working together in order for the betterment of this shared vision that our Prime Minister talks about is very important for entering a new era of Pak-China relations. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman Chohan, to have joined us as well and to have come all the way to the studios. It's always good to see you here. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's come to our second segment, and that concerns the World Environment Day. Now, the World Environment Day is being observed today. This year, the theme is land restoration, stopping desertification and building drought resilience. This World Environment Day puts a global spotlight on the pressing environmental challenges of the times. This has been, of course, led by the United Nations Environment Programme, and it is held annually on this very day since 1973. This, of course, is the largest global platform for environmental public outreach, and it is celebrated by millions of people across the world. This year, it is going to be hosted by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, our Prime Minister shehbazsharif Saab posted the following on X today. He said, today, on the occasion of World Environment Day, let us join hands to safeguard and preserve our environment, not only for the well-being of people, but also for the survival of our planet. Environmentalist Dr. Ejaz Ahmad joins us online. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, I would like to begin with the theme of the day, land restoration, stopping desertification and building drought resilience. How important are these three in the global context and in Pakistan's context as well?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think this is a very important subject because we have seen that over a period of time with the climate change, the issue of related to food security is coming up with the passage of time, because we are not getting like during the enough rain during the crop season, during the peak season, and at the time when we don't need rains, it actually rains and the damages the crop. So then we have the other phenomena which is related to land degradation, and also the process of drought. It is like there's a lot of communities who are suffering directly from it, especially in Balochistan. When we talk about land degradation, deforestation and desertification are the main causes which are actually deteriorating our soil fertility as well as the crop yield. In addition, there are like issues related to waterlogging, related to salinity, related to fertility of the soil because of various factors. So I think this is very important, and it is very timely that we need to recognize this as one of the major issue as far as food security is concerned.
All right, Dr. Ejaz, also when you look at environment and you look at, for example, a city like Lahore and a city like Karachi, we've seen that they have been one of the most environmentally polluted cities. They have been declared
right.
As per various reports. What needs to be done in order to improve on that from Pakistan's point of view? What are the mechanisms that need to be put into place?
I think the overall, if we see, urban planning is lacking. There are, even in Islamabad has a very wonderful master plan, but the implementation of this plan is the plan is not up to the mark. So the overall, there are 2-3 major issues. If we tackle those issues, I think the situation will improve to a greater extent. The number one is related to solid waste management. Even cities like Islamabad, 60 to 70% waste is being managed at household level. The rest is basically being managed without any agency involved in, just private sector is taking care of it. And how they manage it is also, there is a question mark. There is no scientifically based landfill site throughout Pakistan. There is one which is in process in Lahore, but still we lack that. The other important aspect is related to the transportation, public transportation. The phenomena of smog, the major reasons, 80% plus, more than actually 80% uh, air pollution is because of the vehicular emissions. And excuse me, it all like depends, be it two-wheeler, be it three-wheeler. There is a good public transport system in Lahore, but still we lack the management and the control over the emission by the vehicles. The quality of petrol is not up to the mark. The tuning is not like properly being done. So all the public transportation facilities, if they are available, they are limited to certain routes. So there is a need to have a feeder routes as well. So it's, I think, combination of two or three major factors. If we manage those factors, I think situation will improve tremendously.
All right. Also, Dr. Ejaz, I'd like to refer to what Shehbazsharif Saab posted on X, and he talks about taking proactive steps towards endeavors to nurture and cultivate forests. When we talk of forests, we've seen the forest fires that were in the Margalas recently. Then there are forest fires in another part of Pakistan also that we've heard very recently as well. What needs to be done to take care so that these forest fires, even if they begin, can be stopped at the right time?
I think more vigilance, community-based system is important, because the communities know each nook, nick and corner of the forest. So if they are engaged, if they are involved in managing these forest fires, although it's a natural phenomena, even countries like Australia, USA, Canada, they suffer from forest fire. And despite of the fact that they have very high advanced technology, but this is a natural phenomena which it is difficult to control. But as you mentioned, I think there are ways to actually minimize these incidences. And as far as I think reforestation and forest is concerned, this is tremendous uh, effort as far as this 10 billion tsunami plantation is concerned, which is being done at various level, provincial, district, and the national level. And ultimately, I think more than 2 billion trees have already been planted, which is a great achievement. And if we consider the survival rate of, say, 30 to 40%, even then it is a big contribution that will increase the forest cover of the country.
Dr. Ejaz, I'd also like to refer to another part of his tweet, and he talks about reviving and replenishing the dwindling water resources and rehabilitating and revitalizing exhausted soils. Now, both of these are interrelated. Water and soil
Yes.
is, of course, how because we are an agricultural based economy, we need the water and we need the soil in its proper shape as well. What could we do? Should we modernize our agriculture sector? Should we take other initiatives so that whenever we are faced with calamities such as, for example, floods, so just for example other calamities
Sure.
that we never know Pakistan could experience in the future as well, we've seen that in the past, that we could properly preserve our soils and our water?
Well, I think this is a very important aspect. We know that we need to focus on smart agriculture. We need to use technologies which is more water efficient. We need to have more reservoir to store the water. Even at household level, I mean, like the situation is not that good, because we have seen that in the urban areas, the underground water table has gone down to 400, 500 feet. And the some of the initiatives like rainwater harvesting, water recharge, in agriculture, the smart agriculture, uh, crop are we are actually wasting a lot of water. There are studies which says that about 40% of our water in agriculture is wasted. So I think we need to look into those aspects, and also we need to conduct certain research and to find out those varieties of our agriculture commodities which are more which use less water and more efficient from by using lesser water. In different countries, in India, in China, even they are talking about the saline rice cultivation in saline water. So situation, I think we need to conduct research based on the situation which has changed over a period of time. We are still focusing on flood irrigation, which is not the way to go for as far as modern agriculture is concerned. We need to use our water, every drop, to get some better yield from the different crops.
All right. Now, our president Asif Ali Zardari Saab also talks about, pioneering innovative solutions and fostering international partnerships. When you talk of innovative solutions, what comes to your mind first of all? And when he talks of, fostering international partnerships, we are already, with the United Nations talking about different aspects of climate change as well. What more needs to be done from Pakistan's side? Which avenues should Pakistan look towards? I mean, for example, our Prime Minister is in China. He has also looked at modern kinds of agriculture, and he will also be looking at how Pakistan can emulate that whole modernization of agriculture as well. What else should Pakistan do in order to foster international partnerships and innovative solutions?
I think it is very important to look for those countries who are actually promoting agriculture in any arid climate. Situation in China is, I think, something which we can follow, and we can build capacity of our youth. The problem mainly is that we don't try to actually build the capacity. We go and find certain solution, but don't apply it here because we don't have capacity, or something which someone learns is not disseminated to that level. Precision agriculture is something which is, like, as I mentioned earlier, for each drop of water, what kind of outputs you are getting. I think this is very important. If we don't value the water, which is the major commodity, we will not be able to actually take the yield up to the mark. The training, equipment, and then transfer of technology is important, because instead of bringing equipment from there, we need to we need to construct, we need to install those equipment in Pakistan. Simple, just one laser leveling is very small technology. That laser leveling of agriculture field actually can save up to 30 to 40% of your water, and then the water goes to every corner of the field, and then the yield also improves. It's only the simple technology. So that kind of technologies, if they are actually being produced here in Pakistan, so then the cost will reduce, and the farmer will be in a position to actually get benefit of those technologies.
All right. We've also been joined by Romina who is the Prime Minister's coordinator on climate change. Ma'am, thank you very much to have joined us. I was looking at on your X handle, and you posted, "Please recycle, save the environment, save the world." These are all important messages, but how can you implement them? Because you rarely see them in Pakistan, do you?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Omar, for giving me time. And first of all, I wanted to apologize that I am unable to reach to your place because I was being badly stuck. But getting back to this, your question, when you talk about the environment and you're talking about, while messages advocating recycling and environmental conservation are very important, these are the need of greater public awareness and, of course, understanding, especially when we say that in the context of Pakistan's unique environmental challenges, while advocating for recycling and environmental conservation is crucial, it's imperative to enhance public awareness and understanding, particularly regarding Pakistan's environmental challenges. So, the nation's resolve demonstrated through initiatives like the clean air policy, hospital waste management, regulations, and bans on single-use plastic and polythene bags underscore the urgency of addressing environmental issues. So, the adverse economic impact of climate change further emphasize to significant effective towards the waste management and conservation efforts as well. So, we are trying our level best to outreach into the programs and essential leveraging the platforms such as schools, media, community organizations in that way.
All right. You talk of community organization. You also, gave a training workshop for young female journalists, and you said that these female journalists need to work more as far as climate change is concerned, which was, in your point of view, an existential threat to human security and the Mother Earth. You said, and I quote, "Climate change is a huge subject, but rarely discussed on talk shows." We are doing it right now. Climate change and global warming, no borders. My question is twofold: is media doing the needful in Pakistan to highlight climate change, and is disseminating the right information regarding climate change primordial?
And then over here, yes, Omar, you very well said that. First of all, thank you very much that you have quoted me of my means that you follow on different things. That really sounds great to me. Yes, media can play. Media can play a pivotal role, a great pivotal role. They can play in that. And when I'm talking about the woman and about the media, because the woman is the one who suffered the most from the climate change. Vulnerabilities, because they are the ones who suffer from, like, by home and so many challenges, and as we have seen in different floods, that who, like, of course the family suffer, and in the family the most important component is the woman, who's more important. And then when it comes to the media, in that I really appreciate the efforts of those media people, especially the beat reporters. We call them our climate change task force and champions. They work moreover like an eye to us, and I'm thankful to you that you are discussing about the climate change in your program as well, because most of the media people, they don't talk that much about the specific issue. But now, thanks to media people once again, that with joint efforts and collaborations, we are now talking moreover about these issues, and because of course they can play a very pivotal role in raising awareness about climate change in Pakistan, and the most important thing, the credibility of the and the right information towards the right in a right way, and especially when we talk about the climate change. So despite the existing coverage, the urgency of the climate actions require a deeper focus from media outlets to effectively communicate the gravity of environmental challenges. So climate change adverse impact on Pakistan, including the weather patterns, economic losses, necessities. So I think to address all these gaps, media outlets should prioritize climate change coverage and collaborate with educational institutions and civil society organizations. So by doing so, I think we can all, along with the cooperation, we can reach diverse audience and foster the greater understanding of the issue. So in that, I believe that encouraging the collective action, informed decisions making, that can bring a huge impact.
Finally, I'd like to understand, Pakistan is facing huge climate risk, whether it be in the form of floods, whether it be in the form of earthquakes, plastic pollution, environmental pollution and whatnot. How can we address, in your point of view, these challenges and achieve environmental sustainability through mechanisms like you yourself have pointed about: climate resilient building, e-waste management, climate tourism, climate sports, SDGs, disaster management?
Getting back to your question, which you have mentioned about when we are taking a numerous steps in which we are talking about how we can develop these sort of areas, specifically when it comes to the buildings. I think we are trying our level best. In that, we have made the different task force. We are working in the committees. We are working to engage moreover the people from the relevant fields, and specifically when it comes to the buildings, I'm looking forward towards the climate friendly buildings, how we can engage because there is very important component that high rise buildings people are making. So we are trying our level best. That how we can not only engage these people and how we can educate. And Pakistan confronts of an array of environmental and climate challenges, changes advertised like ranging from the scourge of floods to persistent amounts of pollution. So these challenges demand a comprehensive strategy. So firstly, we are leveraging climate resilient building practices as outlined in the National Clean Air Policy. NCAP is pivotal by integrating sustainable construction methods, and string, regulations into urban development plans. So Pakistan can fortify its infrastructure against the escalating impact of climate change. So moreover, Umar, these initiatives like the National Adaptation Plan underscore the importance of disaster management and risk reduction by prioritizing early warning system, by bolstering the governance framework and enhancing community resilience. So Pakistan can mitigate the impacts of climate-induced disaster like floods and heat waves. So additionally, the promotion of e-waste management aligned with the national hazard waste management policy can curb, environmental degradation and foster a circular economy. So furthermore, by mainstreaming women into climate risk management and advocating various gender-responsive expertise towards, I think we can develop towards the sustainable solutions. So these sort of things which we are working, and they are pave the way for a resilient and sustainable future. Yeah.
Thank you very much to have given us the time. I know you are a very busy person, especially on days such as the World Environment Day. So thank you for giving us the time. That was Romina Khurshid, Prime Minister Coordinator of Climate Change, and also Dr. Ejaz Ahmad Saab, Environmentalist. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us as well to talk about this very, very important topic that needs to be catered to in a very serious manner. Finally, the last two stories. The first about the Hubble Space Telescope that is going to retire. This telescope that has revolutionized astronomical discoveries since it was launched in the year 1990, ladies and gentlemen, is going to ease into retirement with the scaled back observing schedule. This has been announced by NASA yesterday. One of the three gyroscopes that control the direction in which the telescope points has become unstable, and that is in recent months, and that is why this decision has been taken. Only one of the three remaining gyros are going to be used, and the other gyro will be kept powered up to reserve for potential future. Slowly and steadily, this Hubble Space Telescope will cease to function properly, but it will be used at least till the year 2035. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, three preteen dinosaur aficionados have discovered something wonderful. They have seen the answer of a lifetime. They have discovered the remains of a rare juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex in the North Dakota dirt. Now, scientists and filmmakers announced that brothers Liam and Jason Fisher, who are aged 7 and 10 at the time of the find, and their 9-year-old cousin Calden Matson were walking in the Hell Creek Formation of the Badlands in July of 2022. Yes, around a year and a half back, almost 2 years, when they found a large fossilized leg bone. They snapped a pic, sent it to a family friend, and then a paleontologist saw it and confirmed that it was in fact belonging to a mammal that was 67 million years old, and that is extremely important as a discovery, and will make us understand how mammals used to live at that time. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.